how the NIL affects, the legislation will affect the health and safety and well-being of the players. What are some of the positive, negative, or even unintended consequences that we might see?
Yeah, I think, well, the NIL is kind of symbolic when it comes to the health and well-being, physical well-being of athletes. Once you open the door on NIL for athletes, then athletes are going to want the door opened on issues related to healthcare and long-term insurance coverage. And, so if I tear my ACL, MCL, and meniscus, and we do some arthroscopic surgery now, but in 8 years, I'm going to need some really good reconstructive surgery on my knee because of this. Is the NCAA going to have an insurance policy that's going to cover me? Because what if I'm unemployed and this surgery costs me $75,000? So that's one of the issues, is what kind of long-term health care coverage are athletes going to get, varsity athletes on college teams? And is it going to vary from one team to another, depending on whether they're revenue producing? All of these issues come into the discussion. And what if I want a second and third opinion rather than having my, my team appointed physician telling me what I need for my health? And,
Right.
and what is that second or third, how is that second or third opinion going to count when it comes to keeping my scholarship? Because if I raise a question about it and the coach says, I don't like the way you're raising that question, I'm not going to renew your scholarship, then I'm out of luck. So one of the big questions here is, to what extent do coaches control my body? And what happens to my body? And what discretion do I have to object to what a coach is asking me to do? If a coach asks me to do drills until I'm puking and getting lightheaded and passing out, can I stop without losing my scholarship? Who controls my body? That student from the University of Maryland died and, said, I can't do this anymore. And the coach said, crawl. And he crawls, and one of his teammates was helping him, and he passes out, and a few hours later, he's dead.
Unbelievable.
So what, to what extent is the university responsible for those healthcare issues related to athletes, and what kinds of limits ought to be set? And, another classic example of that is chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, is one of the outcomes of repeated head trauma that football players and soccer players and some others are experiencing in their sport participation. Well, what kinds of long-term guarantees do I have that the CTE that I might have developed as a college athlete, when it leads to future problems, what kinds of coverage do I have from my university? And the other thing is, how can I make informed consent to play this game when I don't even know how CT happens? And here, these universities have a medical school walking distance from the locker room. They have neurologists who could come over, sit down with a football team, a soccer team, a lacrosse team, and say, these are the issues that you have to be concerned about. If you're going to sign something that says you're not going to sue the university for future CTE, you've got to make an informed decision, and I'm giving you the information. No universities have done that. They haven't called the neurologist over to talk to the team in the locker room about what they should be thinking about. As far as I'm concerned, that is a violation. That is negligence at least, abuse at most.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're talking about 18-year-olds. We're talking about 20-year-olds. I mean, these are adults. They are able to make informed decisions, but they're being held hostage in a way. I mean, professional players have managers, they have representatives, agents that look out for their interest. But the college athlete, technically, the school is looking out for their interest, but it's a conflict of interest because what's best for the player may not be best for the university.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
who's looking out for that player's best interest?
Yeah, yeah. And for the most part, players are expendable. Now, I want to make exceptions to that and say that there's a lot of players who get really good support from coaches, and coaches help them on this and that, but not on everything. And, unless they're calling that neurologist over and helping those athletes make informed consent. And by the way, can an 18-year-old do informed consent? Is that legal, or do you have to be 21 to sign some kind of informed consent contract related to head injuries?
I don't know the answer to that. I know I can't, the schools now, you can't talk to them with regards to your kids. They are adults and they have to
Right.
do, once they turn 18, they are fully in charge of, and medical stuff too. They have to sign
right.
all their consents. So my kids probably not.
Yeah, well, it's consent, but is it informed
Can
consent?
they do it? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so those are some of the issues that are going to be discussed as the door opens related to athletes' rights and care, healthcare, in connection with their participation.